Hello, I would like to show you the new features of reqSuite release 4.5. I will start with the new rule engine. reqSuite already had basic quality assurance functions which, for example, evaluate on the basis of the template whether a requirement is fully documented and also is correctly linked to other elements. But it also analyzes the language and points out fuzzy descriptions, for example. With the new rule engine, it is now possible to define your own validation rules. I will show you a small example for that. What you see here is a pretty simple configuration model, and on the left-hand side there's a stakeholder requirement which is either defined to a non-functional requirement or a functional requirement. And to assure that, I open a stakeholder requirement, and this stakeholder requirement is currently connected to functional requirement, and everything is fine, no incompleteness or other problems has been detected. When I now connect this one to a non-functional requirement as well, it performs a quality check and now it detects an error. So the stakeholder requirement is only allowed to be refined into one kind of requirement, functional X or non-functional, delete the correct relationship. So what I have to do now, for example, I delete the functional requirement, save it, click on yes. It performs the check as well again, and then you see there's no incompleteness or other problems has been detected. So there is a quality rule which defines or runs over this specific stakeholder requirement and checks if something is wrong or not. Another example, when we jump back to the configuration model, on the right hand side we see the system requirements, and when I open one, the first one for example, you see I can give it a name, description, a priority, so from 1 to 5, and have to say if it's safety relevant or not. And I wrote a rule which checks if the priority is high enough when it's safety relevant, because let's say when a requirement is safety relevant, it must be prioritized, and then I have to select a higher priority, and it checks, and in this case it's too low, and it says priority is too low for a requirement that is safety relevant. Set the priority to 3 to resolve this problem, and I can select the 3, save it with a shortcut, and then everything is fine. I could select it's not safety relevant and set the priority back to 2, and then everything is still fine. How you can create those rules? For that I jump to the template editor, and on the left hand side you now see the rules. Here's the priority too low, and to define this specific rule you have to give it a name and a description. This is just for the administration purpose that you can identify the rule. The next point is the trigger type. Then you select on quality check because you want to check if the quality is good, and it will trigger this rule every time you click on the assistance quality check or edit one specific element. Then the rule type, it's for each element, and then the category. So what I select here is the system requirement. So for each element in the system requirement category, check this condition, the rule condition. So in this case, it checks if the safety relevant is yes and the priority is less than 3, then it performs the rule action. If it's not the case, for example it's 3, it performs the else rule action. So in this case, if it's below 3, I want to display this error message, priority is too low, and so on. We've already saw that in the description of the element or of the error. Another functionality besides the quality check is that you are able to create, edit or delete elements. For that, I jump back to the reqSuite and take a look at the configuration model again. What you see here, one system requirement is validated by a test case. And for now, when I jump to one specific system requirement, it's not connected to a test case, or in this case, there is no test case which can be connected. So I've wrote an rule which automatically creates all the test cases for me, And for that, I just have to click the calculate dynamic attributes button, and it takes a few seconds. And after that, when I check the system requirement 1, it's now connected to a test case. When we jump to the test case category, you now see many test cases which are to be done generated test case, but all of these aren't directly connected to one system requirement. To see how you configure that, we jump back to the template editor, and this is the rule for that. I give it a name and a description, and the rule trigger for now is not on quality check, it's now on calculation. And it double checks for each system requirement if, and this is the condition, if test case.id is empty, equals empty, that means when it checks the connected test cases, and when the ID is empty, there is no test case connected yet. And in this case, only in this case, perform this rule. And here I create a new test case and connect it directly to this system requirement. And I also can set the name, for example, in this case, to be done generated test case. This is what you saw here as well. And since for the first time, no system requirement was connected to a test case, it created a test case for each of these system requirements. The new rule engine is quite powerful. With it, you could check on a semantic level if the requirements are fully documented. For example, you can check if in a specific state or status one element is filled out or attribute is filled out. Or what you can do automatically is when all derived module requirements are in a specific state, you can update the state of the higher level system requirement. So when every module requirement is implemented, the system requirement is implemented as well automatically. So you don't have to do it manually, you can trust the rule and it does the job for you. The next change belongs to the word export. It's now possible to have access to the meta attributes with the command instances, which was before only possible for the table command. The next thing is that you have now access to the status of every linked element. And the third one is regarding the related hierarchy command. With that, you're able to export elements which are connected to one specific element, like it's done in the refinement view, and export them via and sort them or group them by the relationships. Now we've added the sort by attribute function, so now the export can be sorted or ordered by a specific attributes, for example, a name. So the next change concerns the AI configuration. It's now possible for an reqSuite admin, so it's an admin user, to activate or deactivate the AI functions with the settings, within the settings. So you can click on your avatar and then on settings, and then you can activate advanced AI functions here. The next thing is that for all of our on-prem installations, you are now able to use your own AI instance. So you can use within this app settings for your IT service, you can select your own GPT-4 model in the Azure OpenAI service. The next change improves the clarity of the relationship window. What you see here is a module handle, which belongs to a screwdriver and is connected also to multiple module requirements. And in this case, I just want to see to which other architectural element this module is connected to. And for that, I click on Manage. And for now, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of elements. And then I can start filtering over it. I can now filter over the relationship type, and we've added the type strong or weak. And when I select strong relationship, you see here, you only see the handle is connected to a screwdriver. When I select a weak relationship, I see all the other connections. How you can configure that? For that, you can jump to the relationship tab, and for each connection, for example, in this case, the the relationship between a module and a system can be defined as a strong one. So you see down below the checkbox show a strong relationship in the relationship management window, weak if not selected. So what I have done here, when I jump to the model preview, every vertical relationship, the part of the derived from relationship, is a strong one, and the horizontal ones, the given for the and the validating the connection, is a weak one. And then I can filter over these types in addition to the selection of the category. The last change has an impact on the reuse capabilities. I have prepared two projects, the main project and the sub-project. Both belongs to the same template, and inside the sub-project I have reused every element from the main project. You can see it directly on the ID that this screwdriver element is referenced, just reuse and not a copy, a local copy, it's referenced. And let's imagine inside the sub-project I want to add a new module, and I don't want to work in the main project, but in the end I want to update the main project. So let's say the screwdriver has a handle, a tip and a shaft, and I want to add a clip to connect it to your jacket or something. And for that I add the new module and the description and save it with a shortcut, and then directly connect it to this screwdriver. And on the fly I want to add a new module requirement, for example made out of steel, save it, and then connect it directly. So let's imagine I have fully described this module, this new one, and decide, okay, the work is finished, and then I want to push it back to the main project. And I can select this module, click on Export Modules, select the right main project, export related items. So this means the module requirements which I have added here in this sub-project will be exported as well, and reference exported item back. This means I have here just the reference and the copy is in the main project. Click on OK. You see directly this becomes an referenced ID. When I open it, I cannot edit it anymore, but I can click here on the right low additional property section, the source project. When I click on it, I jump directly to the origin one now, and here comes the change in this release, because now this module automatically gets connected to the screwdriver. In the old versions this was not happening, so you have to do manual work. In this specific case only this module is connected to the system, but imagine that I connect multiple module requirements to higher level system requirements as well, and these relationships will be generated automatically by the reuse, by the export functionality. So you don't have to do it manually, you can trust the reuse and the export function. These were the main new changes in this release. Have fun trying them out. Bye.